Hello everyone. I want to tell you an interesting story. About 2 years ago, I was returning home from a family reunion quite late at night. The journey took about 2 hours, enough time for fatigue to slowly build up and creep into every muscle. I didn't stay the night because I had to go back to work the next day, and thoughts of future duty pushed me to keep going, despite the growing heaviness in my eyelids. Most of the way lay along a winding road, hemmed in on both sides by dense bushes and tall trees that took on the most eerie shapes in the moonlight, as if from a cheap horror movie. The wind played with the leaves, rustled, and from time to time it seemed that the shadows jumped like living creatures, themselves not giving you a second's peace. I had been driving for about 45 minutes when I suddenly felt that overwhelming tiredness, as if a heavy sleep had covered me at the most inopportune moment. My heart was pounding slower and slower, my arms were starting to lose strength, and I realized that if I didn't stop now, I might just fall asleep at the wheel. But there was not a single gas station, not a single stop, not a single safe pocket on the road. Every kilometer ahead seemed like the last. Finally, desperation took over. I pulled over to the side of the road, into the pitch darkness behind the bushes, where nevertheless it was possible to hide the car from those rare passing cars. A thought was playing in my head: only 20 minutes, about 20 minutes to take a nap and cheer up. I locked the doors, sat down in an armchair, trying to relax, and almost immediately fell asleep. The time in the car was 11:22. Waking up to the scratching sound was terrifying. It wasn't just some kind of rustle, it was a chain of scratching, as if claws were sharpening metal, scratching on the varnish of a car. I looked at my watch: 11:50. The sound faded away, and I, struggling with excitement, lay back down, deciding that it was just my imagination. But the calm did not last long. Later, I woke up to the same sounds, but this time it was already 12:40, and it didn't stop. In a panic, I listened and realized that something was slowly moving behind my car. I tried to look in the rearview mirror, and for a second I caught a glimpse of a dark figure who walked briskly into the dense forest. His heart was pounding so hard that it seemed like all the forest animals and dead branches could hear him. At that moment, a terrible image flashed through my mind: an old urban town, stories of a mad killer with a hook who attacks right here in these very bushes. It seemed to me that this very man with the hook was going to jump out of the darkness, and I began to prepare for the worst. And then my car started moving again, as if he himself was encouraging me to run away. I pulled onto the road, and 15 seconds later, around the bend, I noticed a parked car with the driver's side door open. The car was empty, but there was no peace. There was a tension in the air, as if time had frozen for a few seconds. I realized that I shouldn't stop. Even my breath stuck in my throat as I drove slowly by and looked in the rearview mirror. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, this man ran out from around the corner. His eyes glowed with madness, and his voice cut through the night silence: "Hey! Hey you! Get out of the car! Now!" Despite the terrible fear, an impulse of pursuit flared up inside me, but I did not dare to stop. He hit the gas and sped away, feeling the adrenaline burn through every vein. In the heart of the city, where I finally reached after about 20 minutes, doubts and horror did not let go of me. I spent the night awake, tormented by the question: who was that man? Why was he chasing me? Why did I even wake up to the scratching sounds? With each passing hour, the memories became more vivid, and I decided that I could not leave this story unanswered. The next day, I contacted an old friend who lived near that section of the road. Perhaps he could find out something. And so, the starry sky gave way to a sunny morning, and together we went to the scene of the events. When we reached the very shrubbery where I was trying to hide, we found a strange note on the grass, sliding in the wind. "Thank you for not leaving me to give up. Your car was my hope." There was an old mobile phone nearby, broken, but it still turned on. A friend noticed that there was a path in the forest leading to an abandoned hut. Curiosity overcame fear, and we headed there. We found an elderly man in the hut, exhausted and tired, but alive. It turned out that he was a local hermit, lost in his own demons and forest nights. He told me how he tried to find help, and the car on the side of the road was a lifeline for him. His screams were just a desperate attempt to attract attention. We contacted the local authorities, and the man was visited by doctors and psychologists. Later it turned out that he was living proof of how fear and misunderstanding can distort reality beyond recognition. Since then, I have changed my attitude towards the road and towards people. Maybe the story started with horror, but ended with light. Sometimes it is in the most hopeless nights that hope is born, and fear leads to salvation. And the most important lesson I've learned is to pay attention to yourself and others, even when it feels like the whole world is plunged into darkness. If you want, I can focus on a specific moment or increase the tension. Let me know.